Okay, we were talking about the Ark of the Covenant. I kind of didn't finish what I was going to say, but it ended up that the Philistines took the Ark of the Covenant away from the Israelites. And that was the first time it was out of their hands. And it had a great reputation, and people came from everywhere just to look with curiosity into the Ark of the Covenant. And that's what it says in the scriptures. They looked with curiosity into the covenant. And then the people started dying by thousands, but 50,000 people died. And how did they die? It said they had tumors in their secret parts. Now, what does that sound like? And why is that happening? You know, if this is something from God, why is it killing people like that? And every city they took it to, the same thing happened. People started to die, rich or poor. They died with tumors in their secret parts. So you got to ask yourself, you know, the only thing that could be that cause tumors would be some kind of radiation. So it had that capacity, and maybe a lot more than that. But maybe we wouldn't even understand it today. You know, so that's the story of the Ark of the Covenant. And continuing on, I got all my books here, and you know, I'm indicating obviously that we had some interaction with people not of this earth. And I'll just read you one section from the first epistle of St. Paul to the Corinthians, and where the question is, are the angels and Jesus and the angels are from heaven, or their bodies exactly like ours? And Paul tried to answer that question in 1 Corinthians 15:39 and 40. He said, all flesh is not the same flesh, but some is that of men, another of beasts, another of birds, another is fishes. And there are bodies celestial and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and that of the terrestrial another. So he seems to indicate, you know, that this body's celestial. You know, there's something going on out there. So that's interesting. And everywhere you go, and again, I'm not going to read you the whole book, but I do want to show you, before we wrap it up maybe, is the lost books. Now the lost books got a lot more information. And one of the things is the infancy of Jesus. And this is not talked about in the regular King James Version or in any Bibles that I know of. And everybody knows the story about when Mary and Joseph took Jesus to a festival, a feast in Jerusalem. And then when they left Jesus behind. And they said, oh, we forgot Jesus. We went back to the feast, and they found Jesus. And he was among the temple, among the doctors and elders and the learned men of Israel, and to whom he proposed several questions of learning and also gave them answers. So here's what they said. They're talking to Jesus now. He's 12 years old. A certain principal rabbi asked him, hast thou read books? Jesus answered, he had read both books and the things that were contained in books. And he explained to them the books of the law, and precepts, and statutes, and the mysteries which are contained in the books of the prophets, things which the mind of no creature could reach. Then said the rabbi, I have never yet seen of such knowledge. What do you think that boy will be? Then when a certain astronomer who was present asked the Lord Jesus whether he had studied astronomy, the Lord Jesus replied and told him the number of the spheres and heavenly bodies, also their triangular, square, and sextile aspect, their progressive and retrograde motion, their size and several prognostications, and other things which the reason of man had never discovered. Then there was a philosopher who was skilled in physics and natural philosophy, who asked the Lord Jesus whether he had studied physics. He replied and explained to him physics and metaphysics. Among those things which are above, turn the page here, and below, the power of nature, the powers also of the body, its humors and their effects, also the number of members and bones, veins, arteries, and nerves, the several constitutions of the body, hot and dry, cold and moist, and the tendencies of them, how the soul operated on the body, and lastly, the manner of its composition and dissolution, and other things which the understanding of no creature had ever reached. This is coming from Jesus at the age of 12. He obviously was not a student of the Bethlehem Middle School. So this is all that's in the lost books, and there's a lot more, which talks about Mary, and talks about her mother, and talks about her father. So there's 2 chapters on the infancy of Jesus Christ. And when he was young, he hadn't gotten control of his powers yet. So it said, let me just read you some of this out of the Lost Books. This is called Thomas's Gospel of the Infancy of Jesus Christ. And so he was walking with Joseph, his father, and this boy did something. He took a willow tree, and he was splashing in the waters. But the boy Jesus, seeing what he had done, became angry and said to him, "Thou fool, what harm did the lake do thee, that thou shouldst scatter the water? Behold, now that," this is Jesus talking, "now behold, now thou shalt wither as a tree, and shall not bring forth either leaves or branches or fruit." And immediately he became withered all over. Then Jesus went home. But the parents of the boy who was withered, lamenting the misfortune of his youth, took and carried him to Joseph, accusing him and saying, "Why dost thou keep a son who is guilty of such actions?" Then Jesus, at the request of all who were present, did heal him, leaving only some small member to continue withered, that they may take warning. Either teach him that he bless and not curse, or else depart with him, for he kills our children. But those who said these things to thee shall suffer everlasting punishment. And immediately those who had accused him became blind. Now this is Jesus doing this at his young boy. He was like 7, I think. And all they who saw it were exceedingly afraid and confounded, and said concerning him, "Whatever he saith, good or bad, immediately comes to pass." And they were amazed. So he was a real person, but he had powers that he hadn't grown into yet. And Joseph said to Mary, "We have to keep him away. We have to keep him at home, because everyone that displeases him, he kills." They're talking about Jesus Christ as a young boy. So that's kind of the end of. I got that at the end of the Lost Books. And yeah, a lot of it's a lot of people are not going to like the message, but it is what it is. And it's not my words. These are the words that came out of the book, the actual books. Some of them going back as far as a century after Jesus was crucified. So it's back pretty far. So people were familiar. It's just like we know about the Civil War. They knew about what happened during the time of Christ. So that takes care of Pilgrims and Strangers on the Earth. And there's a lot more in here, and I'm not going to go through the whole book, obviously. And what else was I going to do? Okay, well, I see from my producer that there's not much time left, so I just would say, you don't have to believe me or disbelieve me. Get a hold of my book, however that's going to happen, and read it for yourself. Not only read it, but study it. And study it with the mind of a 21st century person, and see what you think.